Welcome back. We're going to talk about environmental design. Now, a lot of folks hear the term environmental and they immediately think the environment, and that's exactly it. We are talking about the environment. We're talking about the environment of your program. And design, we're not talking about your interior design. We're not necessarily talking about your landscape design. We're not talking about the art on your walls. Environmental design is all about your location. Now, as I start this section, one of the things I want to bring your attention to that I just want to kind of ask you as a question is, what do you think that McDonald's does better than any other company in the world? I doubt that you got it, but let me just give you an idea. It's all about location, location, location. I have seen McDonald's buildings torn down because streets change. It is no longer a good location for that program. Just because the facility you're in has always been a child care center doesn't mean it always will be. If you've had major employers change or streets change, then there's a good chance that that location is no longer a good location for a child care center. Not only are you needing to pay attention to the outside of your building, and has this building been a child care center, what else has it been before? Did the previous business there fail or succeed? Does it have a positive or negative reputation? This is something that you need to know before you get into a specific facility. The other thing I want you to do is to think really hard about, what do people see when they come to your program? If you're not sure what they're going to see, hear, smell, get your friends to come walk through the building. You know, friends will tell you, look, it smells like pee. A new parent may not tell you, but they may not come to your program because they smell urine that you don't smell. So it's very important for you to understand, what does your program look like from the outside? What do people hear from the outside? What do they see? And what do they smell? So get in touch with your 5 senses, or at least 4, because I doubt anybody's tasting your program. But get in touch with your senses and bring your senses into the program. Get all kinds of people to come through your building and give you their first impression. First impressions are...
In environmental design, we need to think a little bit about, what do we need from the adult perspective? We know what we need from the children's perspective. We have to have those different learning centers, and we have to have a certain number of spots in the classroom for the number of children we have. But additionally, we need to have some things both for our staff and for the clients. In the classroom, you need to have both closed shelving or closed storage, which is primarily for the teachers, because everybody has days when a project they had planned didn't go quite right. And you need a place where you can just put that stuff and not think about it anymore. Also, it's useful to have emergency projects in that closed cupboard. If the kids can't see it, they're much less likely to ask for it. So you have the closed storage for both times when things didn't work out the way you planned, and for times when you need a rabbit to pull out of the hat. Okay? So sometimes that's, maybe you keep the Play-Doh in that closed cupboard. Some programs keep shaving cream. Other programs keep musical scarves, the scarves that you would play with while you're doing music play. All those kinds of things can work really well as rabbits to pull out of a hat when you have the 3rd day of rainy weather in a row. You have to have some sort of gross motor, some sort of exciting thing that would be in that closed cupboard. Also, a lot of teachers like to have that closed cupboard or drawer in their classroom where they can keep highly prized art supplies like feathers or glitter. Those things that you add to the occasional project because we need a little bit of BAM or a little bit of POW. Okay? In addition, you want to have open shelves that are up at adult height, above an adult's head, with baskets that you can see into or tubs that you can see into. This is a psychological thing for your clients or potential clients. When they're coming to the program, when a parent is coming to a program looking for a place for their children to come and learn and play and explore, they want to see not only the materials that are down at the children's level, but they want to see that there are additional resources so that the teacher can rotate out the toys. They don't ask about it, but they do look for it. They like to look up and see well-ordered, perhaps labeled additional toys and materials on a shelf so that they know that toys are changed out on a regular basis. It's just something that they need to know. Do we need desks in classrooms? Depends on your program. I'm not a huge fan of them. It's a personal bias. We said before you needed to be aware of your biases and your prejudices. I don't like desks in classrooms personally. Probably stems from the fact that the first program I worked in for any real length of time was an infant and toddler program where there's really no time or space for sitting at a desk. But if you have a program that is about school readiness, it may be important. Think about whether you need a desk in your classrooms for your teachers or not. Make sure that they do have at least one high work surface where if they need to work with adult scissors and things like that, they can without interrupting their day. Because we need to be able to use scissors and use staplers without having to wait for nap time. So having at least one work surface that is up high, maybe not that high, maybe more like chest height, so that they can work with those materials that we don't want the children to have access to during center time and things like that. Other than that, you may not need any other adult furniture in the classroom. In an infant room, you are going to need a chair for holding and rocking babies or nursing babies. The chairs can be floor sitter chairs. There are rocking chairs that sit on the floor, or they can be traditional lazy boys or rockers or whatever. Make sure you don't have too many of them though, because if you have 2 or 3 of those adult-sized chairs in your infant or young toddler room, that's where your staff is going to be an awful lot of the time. So try to keep it to 1 chair. Not probably what your staff want to hear, but it's important. Your staff needs to be on the floor with the children, not sitting in a rocking chair with 1 baby. If they've got 8 babies in the room and there's 2 adults sitting in rocking chairs, who's playing with the other 6 children? You need those infant staff down on the floor. The other thing I really want you to think about is what is in your office. You have to have some place where you can have those private conversations, but there should only really be 1 comfortable chair. It's a time management issue. You don't want the chairs for the other people, the people who are coming in to come and visit with you, to be too terribly comfortable. Because the more comfortable those chairs are, the longer people are going to be in your office. May sound a little bit cruel or mean, but there's a reason for folding chairs and hard wooden chairs. Have those in your office. Not a lazy boy. You think I'm joking. There was a program that came and was talking to us in their annual consulting hours about how she could keep the staff out of her office, and we tried talking to her about different techniques and tools to use, reminding her about telling people the 5-minute rule or 15-minute, I've got about 15 minutes for this conversation, and none of it was working. She'd tried it all. So we stepped back and we said, how is your office furnished? And she had a lazy boy and a love seat in the office. No wonder the staff and the clients were always in her office. It was the most comfortable room in the program. If you want to have a lazy boy or a love seat, hopefully you've got enough space in your center to have a break room or a parent reception area. It should not be in your office. We need to make sure that we can have private conversations in our office, but we also need to make sure that these do not become 3-hour marathon meetings. People need to say what they need to say, and they need to move on because you have other things you need to do with your day. Make sure your office has provisions for keeping information confidential. Do you have filing cabinets that have locks on them? Do you have ways to make sure that the confidential information stays confidential? If all of your confidential information is in your office and none of it's locked up, it's not really all that confidential, is it? Because people go into your office all the time when you're there and when you're not. Just something to think about when you're looking at your office from an environmental design point of view. Take this time to go ahead and do your office safety audit. This is a starting place for you to design your own safety checklist for your office and also to design ones for each of your classrooms if you don't already have one. Every classroom needs to have a daily safety check before the children use it and a monthly safety check which is performed by someone else, because you're not going to notice the gradual deterioration of a piece of wood if you're doing the daily check. It's much more likely that somebody who only sees it once a month will notice that difference.
All right, so we've talked about the outside of your building. What do people see when they pull into your driveway? I know Carrie's talked to you a little bit about playgrounds and the importance of playground safety and how playgrounds can be an awesome marketing tool for you. If you've got a great playground, make sure the world can see it, but you also have to remember the safety of your children. So let's make sure that we've got the appropriate fences. We don't need a lot of strangers watching our kids, but if you've got an awesome playground, make sure that the world knows that that needs to be on your website, it needs to be in your marketing materials, and make sure you include it as an automatic in your tour. Signage. I love signs. Signs are a powerful thing. So the signs to your program are great. Have a good sign. Make sure the sign shares your feeling about your program. If you're a conservative program and you're all about the academics, make sure your sign looks that way. If you're all about fun, make sure that sign looks that way. In addition to the name of your program, another really great thing to have on a sign, especially with people having cell phones all the time, is your phone number. If somebody who drives past your program on a regular basis, give them a way to get in touch with you, whether it's your website address or your phone number or both. The other thing you need to make sure is to make sure that people can see your sign from all directions. Don't put banners, now enrolling banners on your sign. The sign needs to tell people about your program. If you need enrollment banners as one of your marketing tools, that needs to be in a different location than across the sign to your program. The other thing about now enrolling signs is to make sure that they are, again, the personality of your program. Make sure that if you're enrolling for infants, that you say you're enrolling for infants and that you put it up for a limited time. I don't care if you could always take infants, don't put that sign up there and leave it there. The worst thing you can have is a now enrolling sign that looks weathered, that's faded, that looks like it's been out there, or leaving one out there for 6 months. What are people thinking about when they drive by your program? Think about the colors of your building, think about your outside landscaping, thinking about your parking, think about the entrance into your program. Have a plan for how you're going to bring parents into and through your program. Now, one of the things that has become a huge buzz at this stage in our country and in our culture is the term environment or greening. We get a lot of questions from folks about, environmentally friendly everything. So a couple of things that I would like you to keep in mind is you're looking at this for a couple of different reasons. One, money. Going green can save you money. If you are using green light bulbs, power strips, anything that's Energy Star in your program, chances are you're saving yourself an awful lot of money. The other thing you need to do is pay attention to things with odors. And this is going to be everything from your cleaners to your pesticides to painting a room. Now, the volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, that these adhesives on carpets, the paint, the smells in the paints, all of these are really, really bad for the indoor air quality of the kids in your program. If you have kids in your program who have health care issues, asthma is probably the biggest one, and a lot of times asthma can be sparked by an indoor air quality issue. If I'm not careful, Carrie may give you a really long lecture on indoor air quality and understanding what you have in your building and how that affects the children in your program. Again, this is an opportunity for you to make your program stand out. Make sure people know that you use no VOC paint when painting the building, no VOC adhesives when putting in carpet or linoleum. How are you related to the cleaners and to the pesticides? Again, there are cleaners, there are pesticides that meet minimum standards for their effectiveness in cleaning that are also non-toxic. What are you doing for the kids in your program? Now, if you're getting the opportunity to build your building from scratch, then you have a whole other world of options. In addition to greening the inside of your program, you have the option or the opportunity to green your building. For more information about how to green your building, I would suggest that you go to usgbc.org. The U.S. Green Building Council has a LEED for Schools, which LEED is Leadership in Energy Efficiency and Design, a LEED for Schools opportunity or a LEED for Schools rating system that allows your program to take advantage of everything that's important for programs with kids. One of the things it really includes is daylight. How much daylight is coming into your classrooms, or do you have nothing but concrete walls? The more daylight you can let into the classroom, the better. Not only are you saving money because you don't need as many light bulbs on, but it gives your kids, vitamin D, and it gets them excited. They love to be in touch with the outside. If you aren't familiar with the nature deficit disorder, which is not at all appropriate for environmental design, but something for you to think about, getting your kids outside, getting them in touch with schoolyard habitats, organic gardens, natural gardens, getting them outside. One of my favorite things that I've ever read about were programs that are in Europe that are primarily outside programs. The kids are outside all of the time. And one of the things that really struck me from doing that research was that there is no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing choices. So when your parents are concerned about their kids going outside to play in the rain, make sure the kids are dressed appropriately.